I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Erica, we have the roll call.
Yep. Amy Mitchell? Present.
Present.
Renee Sildwish?
Present.
Lee Bash?
Present.
Hoover? Present.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Renee.
Second that.
Thank you, Amy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. And then I'd like to ask for approval of the minutes. The motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that passes as well. That brings us to number 5, new business. Our first item is to consider special use permit from Deven Sapkota to operate a liquor store in a C2 district at 1709 North Jefferson Way.
Thank you. The applicant in this case is Deven Sapkota, and the owner of the property is Indianola RE LLC. He is requesting approval of a special use permit to operate a retail liquor store at 1709 North Jefferson Way. It's one of the tenant spaces that's just south of the same plaza as Pizza Ranch, just the south end of the building there.
Right.
It is zone C2. Liquor stores are a permitted special use in the C2 district. The application was dated May 16th, 2025. Notice of this request was sent to all neighbors within 200 feet. I've not received any correspondence for or against this request. The area has about 10 tenant spaces for commercial and retail uses. The applicant is not proposing any exterior modifications, only some minor interior remodels, which are not part of this application. The site was developed with adequate parking to house these different types of uses. So there's no addition to parking, no site modifications or anything like that. It's just doing a tenant finish on the interior, and that's about it. As you can see here, it's zone C2. I don't really have any concerns with operating this. I've put the findings in the staff report. Staff recommends approval of this special use permit. I'm happy to take any questions, and here's the bulk regulations that show liquor stores are a special use in the C2 district.
Is it just standard that liquor stores, from your experience, are special use permits?
Nope, this is the first place.
I just know we'd had it for another one, and I just wondered, because you have other experience.
No, this is the first community I worked in, and liquor stores are a special use.
Make a little note on the left side of things to maybe work on someday then. Yeah,
If
if it gets to the top of the list.
they all go very smoothly, then
Yeah, deal. Okay, and the other question I'll ask, they have all their licenses they need and.
yeah, they would have to. I don't even know what license they would, because they're not going to serve on site, so they don't need to have a
Suppose you have to have a license to sell though.
probably through the state.
And that, I think, only from experience, I know that has to come back to the city council for approval.
Correct. Yeah, Jackie Rafferty would take care of any liquor license issues.
And then it comes to city council.
Yep.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'd like to call the motion, please. Second, someone make a motion, please.
I move that we approve the special use permit for the, to the name, for Deven Sapkota to operate the liquor store on North Jefferson Way.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Roll call, have a roll call,
Mitchell?
please.
Yes. Whalen?
Yes.
Sildwish?
Yes.
Bash?
Yes,
Hoover? Yes.
thank you. And that motion passes. And that brings us to item B, consider a variance request from Pizza Ranch at 1709 North Jefferson Way from section 16510 to permit signage that exceeds the maximum allowable square footage.
Thank you. The applicant in this case is Pizza Ranch at 1709 North Jefferson Way. They're in the process of doing some facade improvements, including building materials, paint, and then revised signage. The signage that they're proposing is 140 square feet. And then I'll just go to an elevation here quick. The signs that say Fun Zone on them, they say Pizza Ranch above it. So we count that as signage as well. So we're just going to include roughly 150 square feet of signage. There's one on the north side as well. So we'll just loop all these together as one application. The property contains 3.34 acres. It's zone C2. Pizza Ranch has been in town since 2014. And since then, they've continued to make improvements to that facility, including acquiring additional tenant space for additional uses within Pizza Ranch. We allow 1.5 square foot of wall signage for every linear foot of tenant frontage, up to 100 square feet for all signs. So the 140 and give or take, 10 more for the other signage exceeds that slightly. We do have a section of the code that says that if you're set back from the property 250 feet, you can have 200 square foot of signage. It's not quite there. It's almost there. So I'll show you. It's about 167 feet to the property line, about 218 feet to the center line of Highway 65, 69 southbound, and then 270 feet from the center line of northbound of the highway. See here those approximate measurements. So from a logistics standard, it's quite a bit away from the property line anyway. Again, I sent the notification to all property owners within 200 square feet. Not received any correspondence for or against this request either. Staff recommends approval of this variance request. Happy to take any questions.
One question, always. Did Pizza Ranch ask what the requirement was before?
Yeah, we went
Part
back.
of it is corporate, I'm sure, and this is corporate how they do it, so.
Yeah, we went back and forth several times on the facade modifications, and they submitted these elevations the first go around, and then I submitted comments back that, let's try to get this to 100 square feet, and they said, well, can we apply for a variance instead? So we'll just take it that route instead.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, then I'll call a roll call a motion, please.
I move that we approve the special signage request for Pizza Ranch on North Jefferson.
Thank you. A second?
I will second that.
Thank you. And now we'll call the roll call.
Hoover. Yes. Ash.
Yes,
Whalen.
Yes.
Solwich.
Yes.
Mitchell. Yes.
and that motion passes. It brings us to item number C. We'd like to consider the variance request from Joseph and Kristi Kerner at 1008 North 7th Court from section to permit an addition that would not meet the required rear yard setbacks.
The applicant in this case is Joseph and Kristi Kerner at 1008 North 7th Court from section 165.04, which basically says that the rear yard setback is 35 feet and they'll be encroaching into that with this proposed project. This is lot 16 of Tree Line Plat 1. It's located south of Kentucky Avenue and east of Jefferson Way. It contains 0.17 acres. The proposed structure would be 14 by 14 and 196 square feet. The house is right at 35 feet from that back property line, so the proposed structure would extend 14 feet into that setback, requiring a 14-foot variance from the Board of Adjustment. Code permits that uncovered things such as this can encroach up to 20 feet in the backyard, but this will be covered, so that code does not apply. So we're here for variance today. So roughly speaking, this is where the addition would be on the rear of the house there. Here's the bulk regulations that show the setback requirements. It'll obviously meet the front yard setback and then the side yard as well. The rear yard is where we have the variance here. Here's a site plan of the proposal that was drawn by the contractor. I received one phone call from a neighbor in favor of the application. The staff recommends approval of this variance application as well. Happy to take any questions. I'm not sure if this applicant is in attendance tonight.
I'm just assuming since it's attached, it's gonna look like the house? And,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I just was assuming so, yep. And that's zoned commercial behind it today?
No, it's zoned residential.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Kind of what I'm like, is this commercial or residential? I drove by it and it looked like the house, but yet there's a bunch of storage buildings, so I was confused with that.
Yeah, I don't know the history of that. I know the owner isn't, he doesn't want to budge on any type of a sale of it to allow that street to go through.
Oh. Yeah. So I don't know what it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge, it's,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, then I'd like to call for a motion.
I move that we allow the variance on 1008 North 7th Court as proposed, as requested.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Bash,
Yes.
Solish,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Whalen,
Yes.
Hoover.
Yes.
And that motion passes. Thank you very much. That brings us to item number D, to consider a special use permit from Tower North Development LLC for a wireless telecommunications facility in the C2 district at 1801 West 2nd Avenue.
Thank you. The applicant in this case is Tower North Development LLC. The owner is West Road Center. They are requesting a special use permit in accordance with 165.02 to allow a special use permit for a wireless telecommunications facility at 1801 West 2nd Avenue. The property is 6.35 acres located south of Highway 92 and west of South P Street. The property in question is Zone C2. To the north across 92 is a mix of C2 and R2. To the south is a single-family residential subdivision zoned R1. To the east is some R3 and R1, and then to the west is C2 commercial. This facility will be 195 feet tall with a total ground lease area of 1,940 square feet. The monopole will be co-located, meaning additional carriers can be on the same tower without constructing additional towers in the vicinity. So we'll have spaces for 3 carriers, 4 antennas on that tower. These are permitted with a special use permit in all zoning districts from agricultural, residential, commercial, and industrial. The city does not currently have an ordinance regulating cell phone tower sites. So that's kind of where we are on that. On the aerial map, the proposed location is at the southwest corner of that property. It's from Highway 92, it's 422 feet. From the south property line, it's 39 feet. From the west property line, it's 58 feet, and then from the east property line, it's 539 feet. This is a site plan of the proposed lease area at the southwest corner of that site. It's kind of a triangular piece there at the southwest corner that all the carriers can install their cabinets and equipment. And this is a proposal of what the tower will look like. It's not gonna, it's not gonna cause any increase in traffic. A technician will be there about once a month to check on it. It's not gonna add any stormwater issues. Don't really have much to, we don't have a code that regulates this kind of thing. So we are recommending approval of this wireless telecom facility. Anything else? The propagation map. So this is what it is currently. The square area is where the tower is proposed. You can see it's in an area that's noted as bad coverage. And then with the construction, that's what it turns to. So it turns from bad to good, allows better coverage on the west side of town, out in the unincorporated Warren County. Here's the part of the code that says that it's a special use permit. And I received a structural analysis that shows it's structurally sound from a structural engineer. I got the propagation map, these were the propagation maps that shows the coverage. I know you got the letter from the church across the way, and he had mentioned applying conditions to that. So these are 2 options for conditions for different tests that the applicant can do. staff was able to find the findings are adequate to approve the permit. I did receive some correspondence. Harry LaRue at 1700 West Fifth Avenue called, and then she was sent an email that was included in your packet against the request. First Assembly of God, they didn't say they were against the request. They just voiced some concerns with those conditions. Michael Warnock at 1613 West 4th Avenue, and then Deborah Alexander at 1806 West 5th Avenue. They both called and expressed their concern and opposition to the project. So,
And their concern was that what it looks like, having cell towers around them, or?
Ms. Alexander didn't go into any detail. Mike really didn't either. They just kind of a not in my backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Was there a safety issue? I mean, did they bring up anything? I mean, was it what if, tornado came through and knocked the tower down and it landed on properties or?
No, Councilwoman Melissa Sones, she called me earlier because she got a question from a citizen about the fall area of it. The county requires 195 feet fall area. The city obviously doesn't. But the structural analysis, the engineer states that these towers they're designed to withstand wind speeds of 110 miles an hour or more. And they're designed to kind of collapse upon themselves. So in the structural analysis, that fall radius is 35 feet or less. So if something were to happen, they don't topple over and just fall. They're designed to kind of just collapse. So that fall radius would be 35 feet. So it would really just stay on that commercial property.
What about health issues as far as wavelength, radio wavelength and that kind of thing?
I'll let the applicant come in and.
Thank you.
Yep. So my name's Alex Truman. I'm representing Tower North here in conjunction with the Verizon Wireless Improved Coverage Project. So this project is really just being driven by the network demand of the residents who live here. As they continue to use more and more data, it puts a larger strain on the network. So this is really coming from a capacity perspective. I'm sure you're all aware that cell phones are no longer a luxury. They're really a necessity that we have from a day-to-day livelihood perspective. The majority of all E911 emergency response calls are coming in on cell phones, work from home, school from home, etc. It's really a necessity. So this service is something that's being completely driven by the demand and the need of the residents who live here. As far as safety goes, from a structural standpoint, he did speak correctly to that fact that they are not, they don't fall over like an uprooted tree like some believe. They're designed structurally that in the event of catastrophic failure, they would collapse in on themselves, so it bend over essentially, and they don't pose any risk to neighboring properties or right-of-way, etc. For a weather event to be extreme enough to cause it to be completely detached, you're looking at catastrophic loss of life scenario where the residential structures would not be there anymore. So that's a very, very highly unlikely scenario. As far as radio frequency perspective, we at Verizon, they abide by all FCC regulations in regards to the license that they have and the frequencies that they use. There is zero evidence of any sort of negative health impacts in regards to the operation of these facilities. There's multiple federal, state, even county organizations that regulate this, and we are and will continue to always be compliant with that. If there's changes being made, we continue to be compliant with those, but there's no health risks when it comes to the operation of this facility.
The Verizon write-up that was included when we sat down about the certification of non-interference and RF exposure, and that it says that interference to any lawfully operating emergency communication is prohibited, and that prohibited with interfering with any other licensed devices.
That is
operated.
correct.
And I would assume that would be the other lower frequency, I won't say broadband,
Yes.
lower frequency concerns.
Correct.
Wireless
So it's I know that the church had some concerns about interference. So they're an FCC license and operate on that. So the FCC They assign specific frequencies to different operators to utilize. We have to operate within our specific parameters that are outlined by the FCC. I know that the church mentioned, wanting conditions for us to be able to investigate and mitigate. The issues with that is that it's not really feasible because we don't have the authority to investigate or to make changes to the way the network operates. That's the sole responsibility of the FCC. So they regulate all this to ensure there isn't any interference. If there were to be interference, that's something the FCC has to investigate, and then they make directives for us to follow. We can only abide by the regulations and rules that the FCC requires us to do so. We cannot modify how that system operates. It's very specific to ensure that there is not interference with the multitude of other radio frequency users, emergency dispatch, radio, television, et cetera. They all operate together.
So the FCC, if as a whatever, I thought the tower, which Verizon is using, was interfering, they would complain to they would voice a complaint to the FCC, and the FCC would then come back and say, you need to make sure that, not you, I would think it'd be Verizon.
It would be Verizon, correct.
Verizon has to make sure that it's within their right frequency, they're not bleeding into another frequency.
That is correct. That is correct. And so since they are already licensed, the FCC is aware of the frequencies that have already been assigned to them and how they operate. So our licenses are assigned based, in harmony, for lack of a better word, to ensure that there isn't that. So
Space between?
we operate within that specific frequency, the specific power output that is licensed for the site, that is all mandated by the FCC. Even if we wanted to, it's illegal for us to operate that facility outside of anything that is directed by us by the FCC. They have the sole control over that, and by we, I mean Verizon. So if there was another user, T-Mobile, et cetera, whoever, they have those same requirements. If there was, the sheriff department wanted to put a repeater, every single licensed FCC user is set to those standards, and they're required to manage and operate their own systems because we have no way to enforce or monitor how anybody else is operating their system. The way I put it is if we get a building permit for to build a garage, a condition can't be you need to make sure your neighbor's garage was built correctly when you have no authority to do that. So that's where the FCC, that is their role, because they have the authority to investigate and then to provide, mitigation or direction in order to get that resolved if there are issues. But the likelihood of that is close to zero. The FCC, they're very, very thorough in how they operate and assign these different frequencies and how they regulate our operation or Verizon's operation as a provider.
And it's easier when it's physical, like a garage in a garage. So when it's data or transmissions, it makes a difference. It just, because you can't see it. But have you ever seen a situation based on your experience, and I ask this as both a board member and a consumer, where the FCC, are they responsive?
I have been doing this for 12 years and I have never experienced interference with any system ever. I've never had complaints from anyone, from amateur people who are running theirs. I'm sure it exists out there, but when I say the FCC is very thorough in how they manage this, they are very thorough.
I tried to research this week or this past week since it came out. I couldn't find situations where it said it did, or if they did, they said it was very infrequent, but I just didn't know how responsive the FCC was.
And they are, because it's a big, crossing, if you have interference, it could be a huge thing depending on the application
Right,
of it,
could
right?
cause, yeah.
Emergency services, airplanes, et cetera. There's, a plethora of different applications that all use it. So everyone is, by law, you are very stringent in operating your system within the purview and the guidelines that are issued by the FCC.
I used to work as a partner business in a telecommunication company, so
Okay.
I did some research with them that are familiar with it, and that's exactly what they told me.
I know this is a trend, you represent a trend because there's greater demand for the data and everything. In the document we received today, it says that, that there are some similar facilities in surrounding towns. Can you give us a couple examples? And, you know, is this kind of an increasing sort of demand that we're gonna see more and more of this everywhere?
So that's a hard answer, a hard question to answer because there's so many different variables that go into it. But in general, the more data usage your residents use, the higher demand on the capacity it puts on towers. And we're seeing an exponential increase in that with the younger generations. I mean, we never foresaw where this was going, and in reality, the last thing younger generations are doing with their phones are making phone calls. It's all about movies, streaming, games, online, and it just absorbs so much of the bandwidth that the network's able to provide, that we're having to be able to continue to expand and to fill in those gaps. So there's really not a one-for-one scenario to say it's exactly like this in one community versus that, because it's, you know, beyond the demand of the community itself. It also plays into where the nearest tower is, how that hands off with it, you know, what kind of terrain it is here. There's not a lot of terrain. There's no big mountains or 30-foot buildings that are going to be shadowing it. But this is, you know, we're looking into the future, and our goal is to be able to incorporate into the community to the best of our ability.
Of course.
We understand they're not the prettiest things to look at, but it's one of those things where, you know, the benefit of the service you get from it outweighs the view of it. I mean, when they first started putting up telephone poles, people were chopping them down, right? It's just, it's kind of the nature of the beast with progress, but it's a necessity, and it's coming at the demand of your own residents. That's why we're here to do this. And this tower is capable of handling an additional 3 carriers. It's designed structurally to handle a lot more equipment per carrier. So you're able to have this be, you know, something that is as future-proof as we could possibly make it without, you know, having a crystal ball to see what the future holds.
Is there an urgency about this? Are we reaching a tipping point in any way, or are you trying to be proactive about it?
We're a little behind the ball, so the goal is we're trying to get ahead of it. The demand is just increasing exponentially, and COVID was a massive catalyst on the network as a whole. We've seen a huge exodus of people living in more densely populated cities like Des Moines, et cetera. They're moving outwards because they can work remotely, and we're having this, you know, there's just a massive increase on the network that was never really foreseen, you know, 3-4 years ago. So we're playing a little bit of catch up right now. This definitely is a demand today, but the way we're designing it is to also fulfill the need in the future as well, to limit, you know, the number of towers, right? We all have to live here, you know, but our goal is to have the least amount of towers to provide the best amount of, you know, service that they possibly can.
Bill, can you go back one picture? Oh, right there.
You keep playing to the before picture?
Yeah,
Yep.
right there.
Yep.
Do you have a proposed another site if this isn't, because I mean, a lot of residents apparently don't want it, and as a resident, I wouldn't know if I'd be okay with one across the street from me either.
We don't, so it's a very, in order to limit the number of towers that you place, you have to be in a very specific location. So we scrubbed the area at about a 1/4 mile threshold there, which really doesn't, from that neighborhood to the, what would it be, south, would have very little impact, but otherwise, you know, like I said, our goal is to minimize the number of towers that are in your city. And so this location is picked specifically by the RF, radio frequency engineer at Verizon, in order for them to make it work to communicate with all of the other towers and to be able to enhance the network. So we really don't have that wiggle room there to say, no, we could just move it a 1/2 mile down here or a 1/2 mile down there. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It needs to be in a very specific location.
I have to say, I had to drive around to look for other towers. I mean, I hadn't noticed them.
Right.
You just kind of drive past it.
And once it's built, it'll go up quick. They run autonomously unless something breaks. You're not gonna have a lot of traffic out there. It's been my experience that, like anything else, it blends in. No one looks twice at a utility pole with a transformer anymore, and I'm willing to bet there's hundreds of them, throughout all the right of way here.
And how will it be finished at ground level? Do we have anything in there that it's gonna be finished?
So
So it kind of blends in more. I know it's a commercial, so I understand it's commercial and that's the purpose of commercial areas. So I know it's zoned, so for the people that live right across the street, they are across the street from a commercial area, so you could have, I have commercial on my corner, so I could have, whatever on that corner, right? And I understand that. But at the ground level that people are gonna see, is it gonna be painted? Is it more than wood that's gonna just fade or?
So at a ground level, it's fenced in, which is a requirement by law. We have to have anti-climbing measures in process, or in place for, any kid who might get an idea of thinking it might be something fun to climb. So that is fenced in, but within the compound itself, the equipment has shrank. We used to do these like big prefabricated shelters that you may see at some of the older towers. The equipment has shrunk a lot. So now it is just metal cabinets that are on just a poured concrete base. They're very similar to like an electrical cabinet that you see in the right of way. And I don't have a photo.
But I
there's
was looking
one-
to see if there was in the picture.
Yeah, there's an electrical cabinet that's right on the right of way at the entrance into the loading dock there. It's smaller than that. It's very similar in that design.
Oh, yeah, that's here in the picture. Yeah.
So they're usually about this tall off the ground. They're galvanized metal. They place 3 of them. So and that houses all the equipment.
So it looks like an electrical,
It looks like an electrical box. Yeah, we got away from those shelters. You might see like the brown prefabricated shelters at some of the older sites, but the ground technology at least, has gotten smaller. So it blends in our opinion, it blends in better to have something that's, 4.5 feet off the ground versus a 7-foot tall, 8-foot tall prefabricated shelter.
Good.
And this won't affect with people's garage doors, remote controls, or anything like that?
Nope, it'll have zero effect on anything. It does no interference whatsoever. So everything, this operates on a very, very specific frequency. No one else is allowed to manufacture, utilize, implement in any degree to operate on that same frequency. We're not allowed to operate at anybody else's frequency and interfere with anyone else. So, and that's very, very heavily regulated by the FCC.
Any questions?
Well, do we have anyone in the audience that wants
Yeah.
to speak, and then maybe
Thank you.
a representative can come back up if we have more?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Mr. Chairman, if, before you guys would make a motion, invite the public to speak.
We'd certainly welcome comments from those of you who are in the audience here, so, yes, sir.
Please state your name and address too.
Pardon?
Please state your name and address too.
Stan McInich, 1612 West 4th Avenue. First, I couldn't hear a thing he said because carpet floor, acoustic ceiling, facing this way, I have no idea what he said. I can't hardly hear you guys either, because no microphones, nothing. Now, back to the point. You got an out-of-town shopping center owner, out-of-town tower company, wanted to come in, put a tower in a basically residential area with, as you stated on the thing, you have no guidelines, have nothing to go on this. If this gets approved, the next person that comes along and somebody has a lot that they can't sell and a tower company says, hey, we'll put a tower there. How are you going to turn it down? All the cell phone towers you ever see are in the country. They don't have to be in the middle of a town. There's a place for them, and I don't think this is it. And I know people that wanted to put up a wind generator No, too tall, you can't have that in town. Some people want to even put a garage with a second story. No, it's taller than the existing structures, you can't do that. The television antenna, no, you can't do that, it's too tall for residential area, everything. And now we have a 190-foot tower that could just as easily be somewhere else, but evidently, this is the cheapest spot they could find to put it, and so that's where they want to put it. And how are you going to stop the next one? That somebody comes along and has a lot that they can't sell in the middle of town, and tower company says, oh, we'll put a tower there. How many are we going to have? I think it's prudent if you do some research, check out what happens other places, see how this goes, and then make an informed decision on whether this is a good idea or not, rather than just listening to a guy give a speech and then say, well, let's make our mind up right now. I think it needs some research on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello,
Please tell us your name and address.
Debbie Lawrence, 3928 140th Street, Urbandale. I'm the property manager for West Road Shopping Center. I've been the property manager for 30 years, and if you've been out there, you can see we've made a ton of improvements. I think we've really, we've increased the tax revenues for the city. We're fully leased. I think we've done a good job. Having said that, even the back of the building looks much nicer than it has, which is what the residents look at every single day. And so we have been very, very accommodating to that. We care about it. I do. I try to create something there that is pleasant and not obstructive or anything. And so we've planted trees, bushes. We've complied with everything that the city has asked us to do, which has really been expensive to the property owner. So I understand that this has a visual effect to people. I don't think it has a health aspect that they have to deal with. To me, and he's correct, I've seen these towers. It's no more than the transformers that's sitting in the back there. There could be, more buildings constructed back there. We have more property to the east of us. There's a lot of things that could go there that I think would be, worse to look at than this. I think I just would like to, I'm very sensitive to your feelings, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to discount how you feel. But I don't think that, given that they are looking across the street at a commercial property, and it is there, and it has been there, I've managed it for 30 years now, it hasn't, it's only gotten better. So I guess I would like to say that for the property owner, we wouldn't be doing this. The revenue on this is not that, it's not going to change the property owner's life, okay? The revenue on this little parcel that they're going to do. So it's not a money thing. I can tell you from a personal, I can't use my Verizon phone anywhere near there. I have to wait. If I send a text message or an email, it doesn't hit till I'm out of town to some other tower out in the country or wherever. So, and then the tenants there, they don't have Verizon. They can't use their cell phones. So I get complaints from them. So I think it's a little bit broader that there's no usage there. And so having said all these things, I understand, I'm sensitive to the homeowners behind us. If that means we needed to plant some shrubbery, some screen wall, something that, so they're not looking at a transformer there, they're not looking at a fence, I'm totally open to that. I want it to be pleasant, which I think is what we've accomplished back there. I think it's pleasant. We keep it clean. We spend a lot of money in doing that too. So I would definitely be open to having those conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I tell you, I live on the west side, and I would tell you it looks much, much nicer in the last 18 months, 2 years.
Yes.
It does. It looks
And
much nicer.
and that's taken that's a huge investment from the property
it's
owner.
big.
It's not it's been a huge investment, but I'm very proud of it. I've worked for a lot of years to be able to convince them that this was important. And saying that, we have an out parcel there, I'm trying to get, other companies, whether it's, a gas station or something like that, to it be in that out parcel, which to me helps the whole community. But there's no cell service. And so it becomes very problematic if they can't use their systems and be able to operate. They don't want to be there. So that, and also that increases the tax revenues for the city, which I think we're contributing. We're not arguing that you spend money and then it costs you money, right? Our tax rate goes up, which then costs our tenants more money. So we just would like to work with you and not work against anyone. We want to be good to the community, and we want everybody to be happy. We just understand that it needs to work kind of both ways. If we try to create a win-win is what I'd like to see.
Good, thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate your comments. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'm Joe Bedwell. I work at Indianola First Assembly of God. I'm our operations director. And then you guys got the proposition that I sent, and everything that he talked about from my findings is true. We're not really concerned with the interference that this would cause to our radios because, like he said, those things are heavily, mitigated, and we have our license for a reason because we have to have it to operate our radios, those types of things. That's really the most, that's the biggest thing I could find that we would, if something were to come up in the future, we'd be able to go to the FCC and say, hey, we're having issues. But I don't anticipate that happening. What I'm a little bit more concerned about, and this is more just on the level of our church and what we do day in and day out, we have obviously lots of more technology in our building that we use. We have lots of wireless mics. We have all sorts of things like that, as do many churches, things like that. Those can't be licensed by the FCC because they are, they just can't be. We don't have enough of them. We're not a large enough church, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not even concerned about those necessarily having RF frequency issues. What we're worried about is the possibility, and now that I know the actual location on the property, it helps a little bit. We're worried about things that could come up in the future that are harder to, harder to identify, like receiver desensitization, strong signals, electromagnetic signals, things like that, in my research, I couldn't find a lot on. And so it's hard for me to know, once it is in place, is there gonna be any problems that we have to then deal with and, pay for to fix? And so that's why I just would want it to be considered. Is there, something that we could, I saw approval with conditions in the code. If something would arise, it's hard to nail that stuff down where it's coming from anyway.
Sure.
So that's kind of our main concern. So that's all. That's not in the proposal. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes, would you?
Yeah, just in response to the church, so if you guys are willing to provide the technical specifications of your equipment, we can complete a non-interference evaluation of that and give it to you guys. That's not a problem. As long as we get the data that from your equipment, that's something we could put
Can I
together.
afterwards get the information?
Yep, absolutely, yeah, that's something we could provide to the, put together, as long as we have the information to do that.
Okay.
And this is a public document that Verizon must have sent. I just wrote on mine, I don't know if you need yours. You might
Yeah, the
provide that
affidavit, yeah.
to the gentleman
Oh,
from the church.
absolutely.
I think it was a good document.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I mean, yep.
That they can't interfere. I mean, so in order to, informational to that, go to the FCC, okay.
We can, and in regards to like the equipment that isn't FCC licensed, it's still FCC regulated, and the manufacturers of all of that are required to withhold by that. So even if a walkie-talkie may not be FCC licensed, but the manufacturers of the walkie-talkie have to ensure the walkie-talkie does not operate within frequencies that are used by us. So
Right.
in the bigger picture, anything that has a signal is regulated by the FCC to some degree and in some manner.
Thank you. There are other comments or,
Bill, I have one question for Bill. On where this is located within the lot. When you look to the lot west of it, I've get my directions without pointing, west of it, I know there are already some restrictions on that lot?
Open lot?
On the open lot? Are there some pipes underneath or sewer or something like that? Or is there anything on the other, if someone goes to build on that other side, are we within the variances or are we okay? And I know it's probably zone commercial. I was looking at it.
It is zone commercial.
And so we're all okay.
Yeah, if someone were to want to build on it, they would have to be wary of, they would submit a utility plan and make sure that the utility, if there are existing utilities under that lot, that they wouldn't
Okay.
be interfered with. I'd be happy to provide a utility map if you wanted to see what was there.
Sometime we have nothing to do, I'd be just interested in what's in that lot.
If something were to be built in there, we would try to make it so that it wouldn't have to require variance for anything. It would just go to planning
Based on
commission.
that, because this was already there, okay.
Yeah.
If it's approved, okay.
I think it's time for us to call for a vote then, or make a motion. You know, hear a motion.
I think I can do it this right, so correct me if I'm wrong. I move that we approve this tower with the, I like the idea of the bushes or something planted at the base to that. I'm gonna look at bushes versus just at a tower. For the people living across the street, some kind of a visual break that doesn't affect the tower, but kind of covers up some of that.
Well, or
How do I
since
state that?
we know it's gonna have a fence, I mean, would that satisfy what you're looking for? Well, you're looking for something to
Something
kind
visual
of,
on the,
yeah,
a screen break or something that's visually that,
A landscape buffer of sorts.
exactly.
some kind of a
sort.
landscape to make it
Healing.
on the side to the south, for the
Okay,
people that live across the street from it.
can we restate that motion again then?
Sure, let me try that motion again.
Sure.
I approve the proposal on the cell tower with the caveat,
Provision,
with the what? Provision that a buffer of visual plantings are on the south side for the people across the street.
I'll second that.
Okay,
We don't have to repeat it.
and since it's been seconded, then I think we'll call the vote.
Solovich.
Yes.
Hoover.
Yes.
Mitchell. Yes. Ash.
Yes,
Wayland.
Yes.
and that motion passes.
I hope you two guys get together to talk about, so you have a contact if you have issues.
Yeah, I can put them in touch too.
Yeah, we'll do everything through.
Okay, great. Thank
you.
you so much.
Oh,
Having said that, I have one comment. This is Amy's last night. I suppose you were gonna say something too, I would think so.
Yep.
You've been such a part of this for so long that it's hard to imagine a replacement, so.
Very nice of you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm giving someone else the opportunity. It's been a great opportunity to work with the community and everyone. So
Yeah, on behalf of city staff, I thank you for your service to the community on the Board of Adjustment. It's fun serving with you on this side of the podium and also on that side of the
Both
podium
sides,
too.
both sides of the podium.
So
Yeah.
the vacancy has been announced. We're hoping to have hopefully get some interest in someone else to replace you. So
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much.
I know I mentioned in a previous email that the July 2nd meeting would probably be canceled because I'm going to be in Europe. There was supposed to be a 5th item on this agenda that they didn't get in time, so we're hoping to have that one on the 2nd. I won't be here, but Tim said he would be able to handle that one,
On the
so
2nd of July?
July 2nd, yeah.
Okay,
Just 3 of you. It's pretty
one.
easy one.
okay.
So just be wary of that email coming through. It was like, oh, well, they said it was going to be canceled.
So a motion for adjournment, please?
Still working
Oh,
here.
I'm sorry.
Still working here.
You have to make those pauses a little less pregnant.
Sorry. That's my breath.
I'm just glad it wasn't me.
On July 9th at 6 o'clock, the Iowa Public Information Board is hosting a meeting for all elected and appointed officials. It is mandatory for you four. Basically, it's kind of an open meetings training from the Iowa Public Information Board. If you can't make it virtually or in person that night, there will be a video to watch afterwards with apparently a quiz. So,
When was that?
what's that?
What time?
July 9th at 6.
6, okay.
Is it just an hour or?
You know any?
It's 6 to 7:30.
Beg pardon?
6 o'clock to 7:30.
Okay, thank you.
Putting it in. And will it be here?
Yes.
I think Jackie's going to send an email to all the appointed board members, so you should be getting something from her in the near future.
Okay.
And then the last thing, our new city manager started last week, Jacob Meschke. So I brought him to introduce himself, and he wants to meet all the boards and commissions that staff works with. So he's here tonight. He'll meet P&Z on Tuesday night. So I just want to introduce him, and if he's got something to say, then I give the podium to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Bill. Good evening, everyone. I don't want to keep you any longer than you have already been here, but I did want to come here and formally introduce myself. As Bill said, Jake Meschke, new city manager for the city of Indianola. Started a week ago exactly, so 1 week into the job. I most recently served as the deputy city manager for the city of Brookings, South Dakota. It's about 50 minutes north of Sioux Falls, also home to South Dakota State University.
Go Jacks.
Go Jacks. I am originally from the Appleton, Wisconsin area. I have my bachelor's degree and master's degrees from Arizona State University. I'm really excited to be here in Indianola, and as Bill said, I really just wanted to take this opportunity to come here, introduce myself, and also just thank each and every one of you for the service that you provide to the community. The extra time that you're putting in, giving up your nights and evenings to be here, considering these items and looking out for the community and your neighbors. So again, happy to be here, and thank you all so much.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to have you. Good. Now, Bill?
Now,
A motion for adjournment?
Wait a second, I have one more comment. We should take Stan's comments about not being able to hear in the back of the room. And so we need to consider something and have the seating arrangements different. I don't know what it might be.
I don't,
You want to see their faces, but make sure that people can hear.
Is there a microphone that could be centrally located in order to pick up our?
These microphones we have centrally located microphones, and I'm sorry, Stan, I can hear them fine.
Would these guys stand here and face that way?
There's a speaker right here, maybe if we wanted to sit more underneath the speaker.
Okay, well, I think we should test
And
test
when
it
you
out.
guys are talking, if you're facing,
We're
I can,
facing you.
but a lot of times you're looking down and then it doesn't project.
okay.
Note taken, we'll pay attention to how.
Yes, we will. Thank you. I just appreciate your
attentive.
Input, I
letting us
appreciate
know
letting
about
us
that.
know,
Yes.
yeah.
But with the acoustic ceiling, the sound doesn't carry in there.
Right, okay.
I guess that's what they designed it to make it not carry, and it works.
So as your last official act, would you please make a motion for adjournment, Amy?
I will make the motion for an adjournment.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks, guys.